Hello, everyone, and welcome to my solo RPG journal. Today, we are looking at character creation for Vampire the Masquerade 20th edition, not 5th edition. I figure that 5th edition is the thing that gets covered all of the time, and so if you find any new content around it, it's going to be for 5th edition. So I'm going to run with 20th. Also, with that, is that I'm thinking about doing all the other game lines or some of the other game lines as well, which don't yet exist with 5th editions, don't yet have 5th edition offerings. This way it stays consistent. Will I do 5th edition as well? Maybe. I don't know yet. Would I recommend 20th Anniversary Edition over 5th edition? Or would I recommend playing 5th edition over 20th Anniversary Edition? 5th edition is a simplified version of 20th Anniversary Edition. It does personal horror at a low level very well. It's designed to do that very well. 20th Anniversary Edition is more versatile. A lot of people ignore parts of the rules when playing. I've never been at a table that I haven't been running that has done humanity and the beast properly, but that's my personal experience. And while that's my personal experience, I feel like that's also why they made blood dice a thing in 5th edition. So I think it might be a relatively common one. But that's just for instance. I've actually run a high fantasy game with this system because I was just able to go, all right, we're not vampires, we're doing something completely different, cut that stuff out and run it as is. And it worked. Sticking to Vampire the Masquerade, there are a few other types of games that people like to play that aren't, I'm a new vampire that is struggling with the fact that I have to feed on blood every night, which might be a little bit better suited to this. Overall, though, I think it's going to come down to who are you playing with and what does everyone want to do? There's no reason not to play either one. And with that, let's just move on. For anyone wondering, Vampire the Masquerade is one of the larger role-playing games from the 90s. I believe it was bigger than Dungeons and Dragons, sort of, if you look at sales. There's probably more to do with Dungeons and Dragons 2nd edition and how that splintered the Dungeons and Dragons community, everyone playing older editions and not buying new things. But this was the big game for a while. It spawned a whole lot of other games such as Mage the Ascension and Werewolf the Apocalypse, and is less on the crunchy wargamer side. If there is a big difference between it and Dungeons and Dragons, it is that the people that play it tend towards wanting their stories to be behind character drama and political drama, as opposed to putting models on a map and having a tactical fight. This game is set in the world of darkness, which is basically the real world as it is today, but worse. Just imagine all the bad things, and they are more prevalent. Murder happens more often, that kind of thing. Kind of like living in Midsummer or any New York crime show where the crime's just happening all the time. You play a creature of the night, one of the undead, a vampire, calling themselves Kindred. You end up being forced together with some other new vampires, usually, because you are at the lowest rung of the political hierarchy and forced to be everyone's gopher, running around and doing tasks for other older vampires and getting up to all kinds of other shenanigans. Often, I think people play Vampire the Masquerade games with the current meta, even if they're playing V20. A lot of the elders might have disappeared, particularly if you're in America. Everyone has gone east. And so the political situation is more up for grabs, and you might be trying to make more of a name for yourself. But this will all depend on the kind of game that your storyteller is running. Storyteller being the term that they use in the game for game master. So without further ado, we should probably start looking at creating a character. Now, I'm not sure why they moved this all the way away from the character creation section, but in the storytelling chapter, there is a page of questions that it suggests that you ask yourself as you create your character to give you a bit of an idea about who they are and how they got into the life they've gotten into, or unlife that they've gotten into. How old are you? When were you born? How old were you when you were embraced? What was unique about your childhood? Where did you go to school? Who were your immediate family? Did you go to high school? Did you have a hometown? Or was your family constantly on the move? Did you go to university? What kind of person are you? Were you popular? Do you have a family? How did you earn a living? Did you have any real friends? What kept you going from day to day? Why do you get up in the morning? What was your first brush with the supernatural? Did you believe in the occult before you were embraced? When did you first meet a vampire? How did the embrace change you? How long has it been since you were embraced? Who was your sire, and how did they treat you? Were they abusive, arrogant, cryptic, or open? Did you know them well? How long was your apprenticeship? Where did you stay? Did you meet any other vampires during that time? And then we've got a couple of other things that are probably some session zero questions. How did you meet the others in your coterie? That's something that you could probably work with the other players in your game, I think. Whereas your haven, again, this the other games actually have ideas about shared resources and stuff, whereas this one doesn't have that, which is sort of in keeping with what it is to be a vampire, being a solitary creature. Where is your haven? Where do you live? Where do you sleep during the day? Do you retain any connections to your mortal life? Are you presumed dead? Do you pretend to still be alive? What are your habitual feeding grounds? Whom do you feed upon and where? Do you have a favorite hunting ground? Do others use this? Are others in the same place? Do you have to compete? Who is your preferred prey? Or what is your preferred prey? I think maybe what is a better question. What motivates you? Do you seek revenge on any enemies? What are your goals? And these are all questions that we should probably think about as we are making our character. Over here, I have a character sheet, a standard character sheet with a few questions. First, we have some obvious things that we all know we're going to need to answer. Name. Player. Chronicle, which is the Vampire the Masquerade equivalent for Dungeons and Dragons campaign. And then we've got nature and demeanor. And concept. Clan, generation, and sire. And these are all system terms, game system terms. We've then got the attributes, physical, social, mental. And this is, your strength, charisma, intelligence, wisdom, dexterity, and stamina from Dungeons and Dragons, out of order, of course. And then we've got abilities, talents, skills, and knowledges. All of the things that you can be able to do, you can have some skill in. Disciplines, backgrounds, and virtues. Disciplines are vampire magic. Backgrounds are things that mechanically affect you and your character that have accumulated over time. Virtues are specific to controlling yourself, your character, and the beast within. Merits and flaws are little extra things for your character creation towards the end. Humanity, path, willpower, and blood pool, all to do with gameplay and keeping control of your character. Health, weakness, and experience are things that we're not going to be really getting into, as we're not going to be going past character creation. There are other pages too to the character sheet, but we're less likely to go into them. We'll see how we go. So the first thing to do with character creation is think about a concept. Who is this person that we are creating? What do they do in life? What do they pretend to do and continue to do now in death? I'm thinking about a reporter, someone whose job is to report the truth. Maybe we could think about someone who's actually driven for investigation, an investigative journalist, someone who actually wants to get the truth out there. Or we could look at the flip side. Perhaps we have a propagandist instead, someone who wants to write stories, make a name for themselves, shape the world to the way they want it to be shaped. I'm thinking about, because it's maybe we want a propagandist. The next trick is to pick the nature and demeanor. These are who your character is, how they think, how they act, what is their nature, how do they comport themselves. This is important because you have this resource called willpower down here, and the way that you replenish that resource after you spend it is by acting in your nature. Nature and demeanor, you have two. Nature is your true inner self. Demeanor is what you show to the world. There are a number of archetypes in the book, and I think that what I want is a nature of conniver. Others exist for your benefit, and a demeanor of celebrant. Your cause brings you joy. We have a propagandist who needs to control everyone and make people do our bidding, but outwardly they're very, very keen, and they seemingly base their personality around reporting for the cause that whatever their cause is, fighting the good fight. Now, I believe that the book would tell us to pick our clan first, but I don't want to do that. I instead want to look at attributes first. So, strength, dexterity, stamina, physical. Social is charisma, manipulation, and appearance. And mental is perception, intelligence, and wisdom. The way the game works is you add an attribute to an ability. You take the number that you have as the number of dice that you roll that many dice, d10s, and you see however many dice you have rolled are equal to or above the difficulty of the roll. So perhaps the difficulty is 6, and you've got a charisma of 1 currently, and an empathy, charisma and expression, say. I'm writing a piece that is supposed to be moving, an article, and so I roll charisma, expression, in order to successfully write a moving article about something. I have a difficulty of 6, probably. I roll my however many dice and get however many successes, and that determines how successful I am. In creation, we have 3 numbers. We have 7, 5, and 3. We assign these numbers to one of these each, physical, social, and mental, and then we spend that many points on dots in those groupings. Now, because we're this reporter, I think that we're going to put 7 in social straight away. Now, the question then becomes, do we want to spend 3 points in physical or mental? How perceptive do I need to be? How witty do I need to be? Those are both potentially very useful skills for someone like this. However, maybe it would make sense that I'm quite... Yeah, I think that we're going to spend 5 in physical, 7 in social, and 3 in mental. And so I think that we're going to put our wits up by 2 for a total of 3, and our perception up by 1 for a total of 2. I think that we do care a lot about how we look, as appearances, first appearances are very important. But manipulation is going to be our main thing. Now, I've got 7 points to spend. I've spent 6. Is it important to get my charisma up a little bit better? Or do I put them all in manipulation? I think I do. Which leaves us with 5 points. I think that let's increase everything by 1 at least, and then we're going to improve our strength and stamina. So we've got someone cares about their appearance, works out a bit, can be very, very manipulative, but is also reasonably witty and sort of averagely charismatic, but not the brightest tool in the shed. Sharpest tool in the shed, brightest spark, mixing up my things there. Next up, abilities. We have 13, 9, and 5 to spend. That is 13, 9, and 5. I don't know how knowledgeable we need to be, so maybe that will get our 5. Perhaps I should think about where I want to spend my points. I want to get, as long as I don't spend more than 5 in anything, we can just spend a little bit. Having empathy is good for manipulation, understanding empathy. Expression is incredibly important, and potentially intimidation and subterfuge. Streetwise, I think, is probably worth having some skill with, and maybe even leadership. So this is not going to be my 5 spend. Awareness is supernatural awareness. Alertness is the thing that you would use to spot people hiding, to use the D&D thing, the common thing that you're doing in D&D, either sneaking around or spotting people that are sneaking around. And I did say that they were a little bit athletic. I think performance is going to be important. I think that he has to be able to drive. I'm starting to think of him as him now. I'm thinking this guy is a little bit smarmy, a lot smarmy, very smarmy. I don't think we need craft. I don't think animals, he has to get on with animals very well. Etiquette is very important. And I might maybe want some larceny, maybe want some stealth. I don't think we need survival or anything. Computer. Definitely need a small amount in computer, a small amount in investigation, finance. Ooh, politics. This is knowledge of politics. I could almost go here and leave that as the 5. Or maybe we've got 1 dot in academics there, and we've got our 5. I think being okay at driving is probably important. I think I probably want to get my performance to here. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 9. Need to get some good etiquette, so that's 9. Let's get to 9 in here and see where I want to spend the extra 4 points. Expression is going to be important. That's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think I want to spend the 13 in this one because I want to get 1, 2, 3, and then where do I want to put that 4th? In brawl. If he has to get into a bit of a fight, he's done a boxing class or 2. And we're starting to see our character shape up. The next thing to do is advantages, which means that we need to understand who embraced us. I think that with the character we've created so far, it makes sense to be embraced by most of the Camarilla clans. We have a few different clans in Vampire the Masquerade, which are sort of like classes. They're like groups of vampires that tend to embrace like-minded people. They all have a weakness and they all have disciplines that they are better at. Some will have particular things. For instance, the Tremere have magic. Zemisi like to mold flesh. But the ones I'm thinking about for this clan, for this character, the Toreador, who are very involved in art and the media, artistes, the lot of them. And someone could very well think of our smarmy reporters writing as art. The Ventru, wanting to be in control of everything, might see him as potentially a potential asset. The Tremere and a couple of other clans, probably particularly the Malkavians, might look at him for other reasons. The Nosferatu, for instance, might think it all a good joke. But I think that the obvious thing to do is what we'll go with and make him a Toreador. This will give our character immediately 3 clan disciplines: Auspex, Celerity, and Presence, as well as a weakness. The Toreador clan weakness is whenever they see remarkable, amazing things that are absolutely dazzling, they get dazzled. They have a mechanical roll that they have to make. And if they fail that roll, they basically are stunned for the duration of the scene or whatever is an appropriate length of time. Now, just because there are 3 clan disciplines doesn't mean I have to spend points on them. I can actually spend points on any discipline that it would be reasonable for my character to have. Some disciplines are basically available to everyone without teaching. Things like fortitude, which is the ability to take a hit, a supernatural stamina. Celerity, which we have listed already, is super speed. Potence, super strength, unnatural strength. These are all things that you can just pick up because you worked out how to do it. There are other things that you need to be taught. I think that some of the Auspex powers. No, I think Auspex is one you learn yourself. But some things like magic, thaumaturgy in particular, you need to be taught. You need to learn somehow. And so you have to have a narrative reason to be able to pick them up. And even one is a bloodborne disease. There is only one. I've seen people go, "Oh, you need to share blood because their clan disciplines are you need to have drunk the blood of someone who has the discipline in order to." There's only one discipline that works like that. That's vicissitude. That's the Zemitzi discipline. That is an optional rule. Without that optional rule, you can just learn it. And that is the idea, is that particular discipline is actually a bloodborne disease, but everything else you can just learn is already available to you as long as you have someone to teach you. In any case, I don't know that Auspex is particularly useful. I think that 2 dots in presence and 1 dot in celerity is probably great for this character. The first dot in presence, I believe, is awe. I can't remember, if I'm honest, what the second dot of presence is. A little bit of super speed will help him out in any other situation, though. And next we have backgrounds. Backgrounds are all of the things that you gather over time, not necessarily internal to yourself. Things like allies, an alternative identity, contacts, domain, fame, generation, herd, influence. I think that a few of these make sense. We've got 5 points to spend. So I think that allies might make sense. That allies are mortal confederates, usually family or friends. But this could be work colleagues or people that I know. Contacts, another thing, an information source for that the character possesses. Contacts also makes a lot of sense if we are running a journalist. Domain is something that vampires want to have. Kindred society, everyone around you acknowledges that this area, this is your hunting ground, and they won't get in your way. While they want that, I don't know that this is relevant to him. Fame, I believe, might be a relatively well-known journalist. A couple of dots in that might give him some local fame in those particular circles. Not everyone would know him, but just a few people. Generation, how potent is his blood? Something we can probably skip over and look at later if we've got extra points, but not a particular priority. Herd, the vessels which the character has free and safe access. These are people that you have as that you can continually feed off. People that maybe know what you are and like it, but people you have easy access to. A mentor, a kindred patron who advises and supports the character, potentially a sire. So something that we should consider and keep in mind. Resources, wealth, belongings, income. This is a big catch-all. Instead of tracking, I've got, 20 gold pieces and 10 silver and 5 copper. I've got 5 dots in resources, so therefore I've got all of the money and I'll have the things. I will be able to get that. That's not a problem. This is important because we need to consider where we live, what kind of place we're living in, and how much money we have to maintain our facade. Retainers, followers, guards, servants, people that work for us, and status, the character's standing in undead society, not in mortal society. Though I guess as a GM, I would allow you to have different statuses and call one status undead society, Camarilla, another one something to do with some other world political status, for instance. So what we're going to do, we'll write in a few of these that we think make sense. Allies or contacts. I think contacts. An ally is someone who is going to help you. A contact is someone you can leverage for information. Fame, influence. I think mentor is something that we should consider putting 1 dot in. Otherwise, why doesn't our sire talk to us? Do we get no support from them? Perhaps not. Resources is a must. And I don't think we need anything else. I think we definitely do need a couple of dots in resources. Maybe we don't need mentor. We at least need some contacts, some fame, and some influence. I'm going to put 2 in resources for the time because we've only got 5 to spend for the moment. We will be able to come back to this when we spend bonus points in a minute. Next up, we have virtues. This is conscience and self-control and courage, not conviction and instincts. We're not going to get into that. Conscience is how well, basically how well your conscience helps you out. This is all about maintaining self-control in various situations. So in Vampire the Masquerade, everyone has a beast inside of them that wants to get out. It is rage, it is hunger. And you are constantly fighting against the urge to lash out. Self-control is exactly for that. Conscience is checking how well the actions that you are taking fit in with your conscience. Courage is sort of like self-control, but for particular situations like standing out in the sunlight or being near fire. Things that the beast is scared of and wants to flee from. I believe we have 7 points to spend here. So we want to have at least 2 dots in everything. Maybe 3 in these 2 and or even 3, it's 6. We've got 7 points to spend, don't we? And we can go self-control. We add our conscience and self-control together, and that gives us our humanity rating. So we start with a humanity of 7, which is very, very standard. And we are on the path of humanity. Your willpower starts as equal to your courage. And the last thing to do is to spend freebie points. We can choose merits and flaws. Merits and flaws are things for extra flavor that will affect the game mechanically. So, for instance, I could play a blind character, and that would be a very large flaw, as I would not be able to see. Alternatively, I could play a character with poor vision that requires glasses. This would be less of a flaw, as most of the time this wouldn't affect them until something does affect their vision, or someone takes their glasses away. They might also have merits that give them particular advantages in particular situations. I'm not going to bother jumping into merits and flaws because I could be here for hours doing that. We're just going to spend our 15 freebie points. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to spend 2 on willpower to get my willpower up to 5. We're then going to bump my resources up. Backgrounds also cost 1. So 1, 2, 3. We're going to get our fame, influence, and contacts up as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I think we may as well spend 7 points on another dot of presence. The third dot power of presence is entrancement, which turns someone into a willing servant, completely in awe with you, willing to do most things for you for a period of time, which is exactly what our conniving, smarmy reporter wants. Disciplines cost 7 points, so we've got 2 left. 2 points left, which will get us 1 ability point. Spending freebie points is actually how we take our abilities above 3. Something I didn't mention, sorry. When spending your points on abilities, you can't have an ability higher than 3. You have to wait until you're spending freebie points at the end to assign those freebie points to things that are at 3 already to then bring them over. So we can bring our expression up to 4. And something that having 4 dots in a discipline does, in an ability does, is give you a specialization, the ability to have a specialization in that. There are a few abilities that actually require you to have specialization, such as craft, and I have a feeling that expression might have been one of those anyway, in order to use them. So you can have multiple craft skills or multiple expression. No, I think expression, I don't think expression has to have that doesn't seem right. But I have a specialization in writing articles, which would give me bonuses on 10s. And that is our character for Vampire the Masquerade 20th edition. I hope you found this helpful, useful. There are a couple of things I didn't address. Generation is 13 because we didn't take the generation thing. Sire undone, name undone. But that is the primary thing. The other things would be, who are these contacts? Who do you have influence with? What are the bounds of my resources? Where is my fame? Working out those very specific things to the character, which were also specific to the setting and the game we're playing. So we're not going to go into them. There'd be things we'd have to work out at the table. But yeah, that is a character for Vampire the Masquerade 20th edition, 20th anniversary edition. I hope this was useful or enjoyable, whatever you've watched this for, informative, and you've enjoyed the video. Thanks very much. I am thinking about doing these for some of the other splats, not all of them, but some of them, as I'm not familiar with some of them, but I am familiar with others. So we'll see how this goes. Let me know if you've liked it. Let me know if you want to see more, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a good one.